The NTSB found that one of the causes of the crash of Eastern Airlines Flight 212 was the behavior of the pilots, who were engaged in a casual conversation and not paying attention to their altitude.
This was not a difficult weather-affected landing. This is one you could do in your sleep, and that's what they were doing in their sleep.
Co-pilot Jim Daniels, who was flying the plane and survived, lost his license, but by the following year, he was trying to get it back. During his appeal proceedings in late 1975, he gave emotional testimony. "I'm terribly sorry about the accident," Daniels told the judge. "I'd give anything in the world if it hadn't happened. I'm human, and I made a mistake." Eventually, Daniels was reinstated, and he went on to fly planes for decades. Not everyone was pleased.
In fact, I wrote a letter, I think, to the FAA saying, how could you do this?
If you're an employee of a company charged with an important task where people could die, and you were careless and they did die, whose fault is it? Obviously it happened. Do I really blame him? I believe how he was informed. I blame Eastern more than I blame him. I listen to the carpet voice recorder, I don't know what I hear. Two good old boys talking and not flying a plane.
Some 75 lawsuits filed by survivors and the families of victims were settled out of court for a total of about $22 million. But Arnold, the most severely injured of the survivors, and fellow survivor Frank Mihalik, took Eastern to court in 1979.
Some witness said, may have been Richard, it may have been Mihalik, he said, you know, this never happens, but I wish I could hear what the pilots were talking about. I wish they had piped that into the passenger compartment of the airplane, because I would have gotten up and banged on the door and said, pay the attention to what you're doing. I'm on the bus and you're driving off the cliff.
When that rule first came out, it was for landings, and then it eventually got expanded to takeoffs. So below 10,000 feet, we're not talking about the Super Bowl, we're not talking about the Daytona 500, we're not talking about the Charlotte Hornets, we're only talking about pertinent information related to what's going on the flight deck.
Even though Flight 212 inspired major changes and theoretically saved many lives due to the sterile cockpit rule, it has gradually been forgotten. And in the area of Southwest Charlotte where Eastern's DC-9 airplane went down in 1974, there is no memorial, no attempt to honor the victims or the survivors or the first responders, which begs the question, why not?